Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1: Orpheus and the Road Beneath the Earth. In the ancient lands of Greece, storytellers spoke of a musician whose gifts seemed almost supernatural. His name was Orpheus, and it was said that when he played his lyre, rivers slowed their flow to listen, wild animals gathered peacefully around him, and even the trees appeared to lean closer to hear his songs. His music carried joy, sorrow, wonder, and longing with such power that few hearts could remain untouched by it. Among those who loved him was Eurydice, whose kindness and beauty brought light into his life. For a time they lived happily, believing the future stretched before them like an open road beneath a bright sky. That happiness ended suddenly. While walking through a meadow, Eurydice was bitten by a serpent and died. Her spirit departed the world of the living and entered the realm of the dead. Grief struck Orpheus with a force greater than any enemy or storm. The songs that once celebrated life became songs of mourning. Everywhere he traveled, memories followed him. The forest where they had walked together felt empty. The rivers seemed quieter. Even the sunlight appeared diminished. Eventually, his sorrow became so great that he resolved to attempt something no mortal should dare. He would descend into the underworld itself and bring Eurydice home. The journey carried him far beneath the world of the living. Ancient caves opened into dark passages where sunlight never reached. Rivers flowed silently through vast caverns, and shadows stretched endlessly through the gloom. As Orpheus traveled deeper, he encountered spirits, guardians, and the mystery of death itself. Yet wherever he went, he carried his lyre. When obstacles blocked his path, he played. His music moved the hearts of those who heard it. The ferryman Charon allowed him passage. The fearsome hound Cerberus, guardian of the dead, grew calm beneath the melody. Even the rulers of the underworld listened as his music echoed through their dark kingdom. At last, Orpheus stood before the throne of the dead and pleaded for Eurydice's return. The rulers were moved by his devotion and granted his request, but upon one condition. Eurydice would follow him back toward the world above, and he must not look behind him until both had fully emerged into the light. The journey upward began immediately. Through dark tunnels and winding passages he climbed, hearing only the faint footsteps behind him. Yet doubt grew stronger with every step. Was she truly there? Had the rulers deceived him? As the entrance neared and daylight appeared ahead, uncertainty overcame him. He turned to look. For a brief moment he saw Eurydice behind him, reaching toward the light. Then she vanished, returning forever to the realm below. The loss was heartbreaking, yet the story endured because it revealed something deeper than tragedy. Orpheus had descended into the lowest depths of despair and returned carrying wisdom earned through suffering. The underworld became a symbol of those seasons when life seemed darkest and hope most distant. His journey reminds us that even within grief, fear, and failure, there are lessons that cannot be learned anywhere else. Sometimes the road downward reveals truths that only become visible in the shadows. Story 2: Izanagi's Journey into Yomi. In the earliest Japanese myths, before mountains, rivers, and islands had fully taken their place within the world, the divine beings Izanagi and Izanami worked together to shape creation itself. Through their actions, land emerged from the seas, forests spread across the earth, and countless spirits came into existence. They ruled not as distant figures, but as active participants in the unfolding of the world. Their partnership brought harmony and life wherever they went, and together they stood at the center of the cosmos they helped create. This harmony was shattered when Izanami died after giving birth to the fire deity. Her passing left Izanagi devastated. The world they had built together suddenly felt empty, and grief settled heavily upon him. Unable to accept her loss, he decided to undertake a journey that few would ever consider. He would travel to Yomi, the land of the dead, and bring her back. The decision carried enormous risk, for Yomi was a realm separated from the world of the living by boundaries that were not meant to be crossed. Yet love and sorrow often drive people toward impossible paths. Izanagi's journey led him into darkness. He passed through remote regions until he reached the entrance to Yomi, a place where light faded and silence deepened. The farther he traveled, the more distant the world of the living became. Unlike the vibrant landscapes he had helped create, Yomi was a realm of stillness and decay. Shadows filled its corridors, and an unsettling quiet hung over everything. Eventually, he found Izanami and begged her to return with him. She replied that she wished to come back, but first she must seek permission from the powers governing the realm. She instructed him not to look upon her until she returned. For a time, Izanagi waited, yet uncertainty slowly began to consume him. The darkness pressed against him from all sides, and the silence offered no reassurance. At last, his curiosity overcame his patience. He produced a small light and looked upon Izanami. What he saw filled him with horror. Death had transformed her, and she no longer appeared as the goddess he remembered. Terrified, he fled through the passages of Yomi, pursued by forces that sought to prevent his escape. The journey became a desperate race toward the world above as darkness closed around him. When Izanagi finally emerged into the land of the living, he sealed the entrance behind him, forever separating the realms of life and death. Though his quest failed, the story became one of the most important myths in Japanese tradition because it explored grief, loss, and transformation. Izanagi entered Yomi seeking to reclaim what had been lost, but he returned with a deeper understanding of life's realities. His descent reminds listeners that there are moments when we must confront painful truths rather than flee from them. The darkness beneath the world may be frightening, yet it often reveals lessons that cannot be found beneath the sunlight. In this way, even the deepest despair becomes a teacher, guiding us toward wisdom that cannot have been gained by any other road. Story 3. The Hero Twins and the Trials of Xibalba. Long ago, when the world was still young and the boundary between the living and the supernatural seemed far thinner than it does today, the Maya told of a mysterious realm beneath the earth known as Xibalba. Its name is often translated as the place of fear, yet it was more than a land of darkness. Xibalba was a kingdom ruled by powerful lords who delighted in deception, trials, and tests designed to break their spirit of any foolish enough to enter. Deep caves, underground rivers, twisted passages, and hidden dangers all became symbols of this feared realm. To descend into Xibalba was to leave behind certainty and enter a place where courage, intelligence, and endurance mattered more than strength alone. The story centers on the hero twins, Hunahpu and Xbalanque, whose adventures form one of the most celebrated narratives in the Maya sacred text known as Popol Vuh. After a series of events involving their father and uncle, the twins attracted the attention of the lords of Xibalba. Summoned to the underworld, they were expected to fail just as many others had failed before them. The rulers of Xibalba viewed the invitation as a trap. They believed the twins would become lost among the dangers below and never return. The journey downward carried the twins through a landscape unlike anything found upon the surface of the earth. Rivers of blood and rivers of scorpions blocked their path. Hidden roads branched in multiple directions, each designed to confuse travelers. Shadows filled the caverns and unseen voices echoed through the darkness. Every step deeper into Xibalba demanded careful attention because appearances could not be trusted. The twins soon discovered that nearly every challenge concealed another challenge beneath it. What seemed simple often proved dangerous, while what appeared frightening sometimes hid an opportunity. Upon reaching the courts of the underworld rulers, the trials truly began. The twins were sent into deadly houses designed to destroy them. One chamber was filled with darkness so complete that no light could survive within it. Another contained blades that moved through the shadows. Others housed jaguars, freezing winds, or raging fire. The lords of Xibalba expected fear and despair to overcome the visitors long before any victory became possible. Yet the twins refused to surrender to panic. Rather than meeting every challenge with force, they relied upon cleverness, patience, and observation. Again and again, they survived situations that should have ended their journey. As the trials continued, the twins learned something important about the nature of the underworld. Xibalba drew strength from confusion, fear, and hopelessness. Those who allowed despair to control them became trapped. Those who remained focused could continue moving forward. Eventually, the twins overcame the rulers themselves, transforming what had begun as a descent into a triumph over darkness. Their victory restored balance and secured their place among the great heroes of Maya tradition. For generations, the story endured because it reflected a truth familiar to every human life. There are seasons when we feel as though we have entered our own Xibalba, a place of uncertainty where every path seems difficult and every answer remains hidden. The hero twins remind us that wisdom often emerges from the deepest trials, and that the journey through darkness can reveal strengths we never knew we possessed. Rock bottom may feel like an ending, yet the old Maya storytellers understood that it can also become the beginning of transformation. Story 4. Hermóðr's Ride to Hell. Among the gods of Asgard, none were loved more deeply than Baldur. He was known for his kindness, wisdom, and radiant presence, and many believed that no sorrow could ever touch him. Yet the old Norse stories rarely allow peace to last forever. Through trickery and fate, Baldur was slain, and his death sent grief through the halls of the gods. Feasts became silent, laughter disappeared. Even the great warriors of Asgard struggled to accept what had happened. For the first time, the gods found themselves confronting a loss they could never fight nor outrun. As despair spread across the heavenly realm, a difficult task emerged. Someone would have to travel to Hell, the land of the dead, and attempt to secure Baldur's return. The journey would be dangerous, for Hell lay far beyond the lands of the living. Roads leading there crossed dark valleys, frozen rivers, and shadowed territories where few travelers willingly ventured. At last, Hermóðr, a brave and loyal god, volunteered to undertake the quest. Though grief weighed heavily upon him, he understood that some roads must be traveled precisely because they are difficult. Mounted upon Odin's magnificent horse, Sleipnir, Hermóðr began the journey. For 9 nights he rode through darkness unlike any he had known before. The road stretched endlessly ahead, winding through deep valleys and across landscapes untouched by sunlight. No birds sang, no villages appeared in the distance. The silence itself seemed alive. Each mile carried him farther from the familiar world and deeper into a realm shaped by loss and finality. Yet he continued forward because turning back would accomplish nothing. Eventually, Hermóðr reached the bridge that guarded the entrance to Hell. Beyond it lay a kingdom unlike the glorious halls of Asgard. The realm was cold, solemn, and still. Shadows lingered across the landscape, and an atmosphere of quiet inevitability hung over everything. There he found Baldur, seated among the dead. Though reunited briefly, Hermóðr understood that bringing him home would not be simple. Hel, ruler of the Underworld, agreed to release Baldur only if every being in existence mourned his death. It was a condition that seemed possible at first, but would later prove impossible to fulfill completely. Hermóðr returned to Asgard carrying both hope and uncertainty. His mission had not achieved the miracle everyone desired, yet it had accomplished something else. He had journeyed into the depths of sorrow itself and returned with understanding. The gods learned that not every loss can be undone. Some grief must be carried rather than conquered. Yet even in failure, courage retains its value. Hermóðr's willingness to descend into darkness on behalf of those he loved became a powerful example of devotion and resilience. The story remained important because it acknowledged a truth many people eventually face. There are moments when life carries us into valleys we never wished to enter. The road feels lonely, the destination uncertain, and the outcome beyond our control. Yet the descent itself can teach wisdom. Hermóðr's journey reminds us that despair is not merely a place of suffering. It can also become a place of understanding, where compassion deepens and courage takes on a quieter, more enduring form. Daily Thread for June 13th, The Descent. There comes a point in many journeys when the road no longer climbs toward distant sunlight, but turns downward into shadow, carrying the traveler into places they never wished to see. Orpheus followed grief beneath the earth in search of a love he could not bear to lose. Izanagi crossed the threshold of Yomi because sorrow convinced him that what was gone might still be recovered. The hero twins entered the fearful courts of Xibalba, where every path concealed another challenge and every victory demanded wisdom greater than strength. Hermóðr rode through 9 nights of darkness toward Hell, seeking hope within a realm built for loss itself. Though these stories arise from different corners of the world, each understands something many people spend years trying to avoid. There are lessons that cannot be learned beneath clear skies. The old storytellers knew that despair is not merely a pit into which we fall, but a landscape through which we travel. Within its shadows, we meet grief, uncertainty, fear, failure, and the painful truths we would rather leave unseen. Yet again and again, the heroes return carrying something valuable. They emerge with deeper wisdom, greater compassion, clearer vision, or a stronger understanding of what truly matters. None of them descend unchanged. The darkness strips away illusion, revealing the foundation hidden beneath comfort and certainty. When the road leads downward and the world grows quiet around us, it is easy to believe that we have lost our way. The ancient stories suggest otherwise. They whisper that the deepest valleys often hold the most important teachings, and that what feels like rock bottom may not be the end of the journey at all, may simply be the place where the next transformation begins.